This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd DeWalt, and it's my job to help you grow your leadership skills, grow your business, and grow your income. I've got a great interview with Mitch Kenney, who founded Culpeper Plumbing and HVAC services out in San Diego. He has also cracked the code on using pay-per-click advertising and SEO to grow service businesses and construction companies. We're going to talk about how he grew both his plumbing and HVAC business, as well as you're going to get some great advice on how to grow your business using SEO, search engine optimization, and pay-per-click advertising. But a couple of things I want to share with you before we jump into that interview. If you like this podcast and you want to take your construction business to the next level, if you want to maximize revenue, if you want to put financial anxiety and stress behind you and turn your business into a well-oiled machine, then you might want to check out my Construction Business Accelerator program over at constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. Here's what a couple of CBA members would tell you. We don't know what we don't know. Todd's been really good about answering questions and giving us direction. Todd has held us accountable on areas where we've set goals. Your knowledge and expertise have helped us to shift our paradigm away from just being a small operation. Todd's expertise helps us solve a lot of problems in a very easy way versus us having to go reinvent the wheel. That's from Jay and Trey in Texas. Roy from Ohio says this: Todd does a great job helping companies like ours to grow. We've implemented a lot of what we've learned in the Construction Business Accelerator that has been helping to manage and grow our company. So for a limited time, when you join the Construction Business Accelerator, you're going to get around $9,000 worth of bonuses, including the Revenue Maximizer program, where you're going to learn how to design the business that you need, develop a revenue plan, an execution plan to meet that revenue plan, and then build a sales plan as well to get you where you want to be. You're also going to get the Sales Accelerator, the Project Execution Formula, the Mindset Upgrade, which may be the most important thing I can do for you, plus a whole lot more. But these bonuses will not be around long, and there are only so many spots available. So to find out how the Construction Business Accelerator can help you maximize revenue, put financial anxiety and stress behind you, and turn your business into a well-oiled machine, go to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. The next thing I want to tell you about is one of the most common frustrations among business owners that I work with involves bookkeeping. They spend a lot of time keying in invoices, doing payroll, managing paperwork, and trying, keyword there is trying, to keep up with the back office part of their business. Most hate doing it, and many would say they're probably making a lot of mistakes, but they feel stuck doing their own bookkeeping. They're not sure if they're making money at all or which projects are profitable. The thought of filing taxes wakes them up in the middle of the night. They're flying their business blind because they just don't have good reports. They don't have good information to make decisions from. But now there's a better way. Apparatus Contractor Services wants to take all of your back office headaches off your back. The Apparatus team specializes in doing exactly that for small construction businesses, and they put together a great package for Construction Leading Edge podcast listeners. That is you. So here's what life looks like when you let the Apparatus team handle your back office headaches. Number one, you're going to be able to spend more time doing stuff that will grow your business or the stuff that you want to do. No more nights and weekends entering invoices. Secondly, you're going to have more confidence knowing that you're making decisions based on real numbers. I talked to one of their clients and he said this: they've given me the confidence to hire an employee and take on more work than I would have previously. Confidence, because he had good information. So if you're ready to offload your back office headaches and go from clutter to calm, from chaos to control, from burned out to brilliant, from confused to competitive, then the Apparatus team is going to be able to help you. They've put together a special package for you that includes full-service bookkeeping, payroll, back office support, starting at, listen to this, $199 a month. It's a month-to-month, hassle-free subscription, free setup, free training, free report education, free customization of the reports, free support, free meetings and check-in. This is a no-brainer, and they're also going to give you a $100 complimentary voucher for some of their a la carte services. So to find out more and take the first step toward offloading your back office headaches, go to constructionleadingedge.com/headache. So now, without further ado, here is my interview with Mitch Kenney. All right, Mitch Kenney, thanks for being on the podcast. How's it going today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good deal. So, you've got a pretty interesting story. Not only did you start a construction business? You've grown that construction business, but you've also branched off into something else that is pretty interesting. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first of all, talk to us about the plumbing and HVAC business that you founded. How did you get into that business, and what kind of work do you do? What part of the country are you in? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm a third generation plumber. My grandpa was a plumber. My dad was a plumber. And, so it was kind of natural for me to go into it. I wasn't very excited to go into it just because I saw how hard they worked, and it didn't really attract me. But I never really was good in school. I barely graduated high school. And the only reason why I actually wasn't going to graduate. And then I was able to take this online course that I got done in like 3 days, and they made an exception and let me graduate. But I just hated school, and the thought of going to college and paying and going into debt for it, and I didn't even know what I wanted to do. That just wasn't a question, or that wasn't a solution for me. So I figured, well, I'll plumb with my dad over the summertime, and we'll see where that takes me. And my dad and I, we both have very strong personalities, and we just can't work together. So made it through the summer, and he told me, well, I need to go and work somewhere else and get trained up there. And it takes 4 years to get your license in Colorado, which is where I'm from. And then after I get my license, then I can come back and I can work with him in his business. So 4 years went by, and I went to work with him in his business, and immediately butting heads again. And I had all these business ideas and all these things that I wanted to do, and he just wasn't having it. He's a great plumber, but he's just an old school guy. So I then decided to start my own plumbing business, and it was back in like 2007, 2008, and I bought my own house at the time. I was probably I think I was like 23 at the time. And I'd love to say that, my failure at that time was because of the recession, but it wasn't. It was 100% my fault. I just didn't know what I was doing. So I lasted maybe 6 to 9 months in business, and debts were piling up and couldn't pay the mortgage. So I actually had to sleep in my plumbing van for a while as I rented it out to what I didn't know at the time was a stripper and a drug dealer. And so then I had to evict them. And then, long story short, I just decided to file bankruptcy and foreclosure because the debts just got too much. So then I had met my wife. She's from LA. She moved out to California. She was doing some real estate stuff. And I've always wanted to live in California. So we moved out to Redondo Beach, which is a little suburb of LA. And I had gotten out of the plumbing business for a little while, and I was doing these phone sales thing where we were getting people out of their timeshares. And I am so glad I did that because it made me a very, very good salesman. Doing phone sales is a tough gig, and that made me so good. And I became the number one salesman there very quickly, and I made a bunch of money, and I won all these awards and stuff. But that company went out of business, and so that left me with a choice. I had a wife and a kid. It's like, well, I got to make money for these guys. So what am I going to do? I really didn't want to go back into plumbing. So I experimented with a bunch of different things. Like I tried to be a firefighter and all these different things, and nothing worked out. So it's like, well, I'm going to have to go back to being a plumber. Not a terrible thing. I can make 6 figures doing it, but I said, I'm not going to do it in LA because trying to drive around the LA area plumbing is just madness with the traffic and everything. So I convinced my wife to move down to San Diego because it's just so much nicer down here and prettier and less traffic. And the surfing down here is really, really good. Way better than LA. And I was working for a company, and long story short, so I then started my own business, and I grew it from 0 to just under 3 million in 2 years. And I did that pretty much via internet marketing. And I was just so fascinated by how much I was able to get the phone to ring. I would just put out this internet marketing and the phone would ring off the hook. That I decided to start my own marketing company called Pipes Media. And we focus on internet marketing for contractors, plumbers, electricians, HVAC guys, stuff like that. And that's kind of the direction I'm going towards now. I'm a lot more passionate about marketing. And it's a great feeling to get the phone to ring for other guys, for other companies, especially for guys that have tried so many different things and it's not working. Because I've been in that boat where I've tried all these different things and nothing works. You put out all this money. And so it's a great feeling to be a resource for people, and they pay you money and you get their phone to ring. That's a great feeling, and helping people, grow their business. That's what it's all about. It's about getting the phone to ring. And so I'm kind of transitioning into that, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's I still have the plumbing business, and so we're just kind of stabilized at that right now.
Got it. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Let's talk about that plumbing business. What did you do to grow it to $3 million in a couple of years? You said internet marketing. Can you talk about what specifically you did? What were some of the tactics you used to grow it like that?
Yeah, so I did and I continue to do a lot of pay-per-click. So that's like Google AdWords. So basically, you put up ads on Google, and every time somebody clicks on the ad, you pay Google. That's why it's called pay-per-click. Unfortunately, not every click turns into a phone call, but we've got a system down to where most of the clicks turn into phone calls. So primarily that, and then we did some SEO, search engine optimization, where we're showing up in if somebody types in plumber San Diego, there's a bunch of different ways you can show up, but you show up in the maps section, or you show up in the organic section below. And then also getting a lot of reviews. Definitely helps drive your internet marketing, because a lot of times people will cross-check you. They'll see your ad, or they'll see you on the maps or in the organic, and then they want to make sure you're legit and people are having good things to say about you. So we've focused on getting a lot of good reviews, a lot of 5-star reviews, and people tell us all the time, we chose you because you have great reviews. But back to pay-per-click. So I started out, I was spending like $2,500 a month on it. And at the time, that was a lot of money for me. And I was getting phone calls, and then I wanted to hire a guy. And I'm like, well, what do we got to do to get more calls and bring on a new guy? So at the time, I had to spend a little bit more money, and I had more than enough calls for that guy. I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. So I'm like, well, let's get another guy. So it's spend a little bit more money, get some more calls, and get another guy. And I just kept on doing that. I didn't plan it out, because I wasn't sure how it was all going to work. I felt like there was going to be some sort of limit, but I just kept doing it. And I just kept adding truck after truck. We got 13 trucks, and I'm the kind of guy I like to take action. Like, I don't like to wait around. So I saw that it was working, and I just like, well, let's make this happen as quickly as possible. Let's take time out of the equation. And that's what I did. And it worked pretty good.
Yeah, sounds like it. So can you just map out what that process looks like? You said it starts with a Google ad, and then can you just map out what maybe like a flow chart? They see the Google ad, and then what happens from there until the time they pick up the phone?
Yeah, so the Google ad, so if you type in a keyword like San Diego plumber, or leaking water heater, or clogged drain, or air conditioner broke, I mean, there's all these hundreds, if not thousands, of keywords that somebody will type into Google when they're needing services. So the key is to show up for as many different keyword variations as possible. Where it gets tough is pay-per-click can get kind of competitive, but there's a lot of people doing it. So the tricky part, and what separates the really good people doing it from the not as good people, is not blowing your budget and getting clicks for less expensive than what other people are getting them for. But anyway, so we've got all these, we're showing up for all these different variations of keywords and things like that. And we put up our ads, and we have our ad copy, and we try to make compelling ad copy that sets us apart from all the other people that are doing AdWords. So they'll call us as opposed to our competition. and we try to have strong offers and strong calls to action. And so basically, they'll click on the ad, and at that time, we'll get charged money. It could vary anywhere from $5 up to, I've paid $125 for a click before. It's just from testing stuff out. Obviously, we try to get the clicks as cheap as possible, but cheap clicks don't always mean like a good quality customer. Sometimes you have to pay a little bit more for your clicks to get a little bit better quality customer. So anyways, then they click on the ad, and we direct them to a landing page, which is it's a one-page website. We don't take them to the main website. That's where a lot of pay-per-click companies make mistakes. Is they direct the user, the person on Google, to their main website. And the reason why you don't want to do that is because let's say they're looking for leaking water heater repair company. And then they go to the main page of your website, and on there it's talking about drain cleaning and toilets and faucets. Well, a person is more likely to what we call bounce off the page because they're not immediately finding what they're looking for, which is water heater repair. And so with having a dedicated website or a dedicated landing page, we bring them to that page, and it's just talking about water heater repair. And that's just how it works nowadays. People have short attention spans, and with the internet, they want to be able to get what they're searching for immediately. And if they don't, then they'll go on to the next company or the next ad. So that's what we've done a really good job at. We've been able to convert about 30 to 50% of our clicks are converting into phone calls, and kind of the average is you're lucky to get about 10% of every click turning into a phone call. So we've gotten it down pretty good over the years, just spending a lot of money and doing a lot of different testing and things like that. And then on the SEO side, the organic side, that's kind of an art. It's not as scientific as pay-per-click. It's kind of like rocket science, really. It's tricky, and Google makes it that way because they don't want people trying to game their system. They want to make it as difficult as possible to rank, in the search rankings, because if everybody knew how to rank, then everybody would be coming in and gaming the system. That Google wants natural ranking, and we do that, but we have some tricks up our sleeve to help push it along a lot further. And so with that stuff, that's not those aren't ads. When somebody clicks on your ranking in the organics or on the map section, they're just going to get directed to your homepage. So that works a little bit differently. And, for that, we just charge a monthly fee for our service on that. That's not a cost per click type thing. So, they work really good by themselves, pay-per-click and SEO, but they work really good when you do them both together at the same time.
Gotcha. 2 questions on Google Ads. Do you do display ads, text ads, or both?
We do both. What works in one market doesn't necessarily work in another market. So we like to go in, when we sign up a client, we like to go in and test a little bit of everything. Because sometimes, a call-only ad or a display ad or whatever type of ad, it works really good for plumbing in Minnesota, but it doesn't work good for plumbing in Florida and vice versa. So we like to go in, just test a little bit, and then we kind of see what's working, and then we'll eliminate what's not working and just focus with what's working good.
And on these ads, is there some sort of incentive that you're giving people to call you? Are you giving some sort of a coupon, or what's on your landing page that's attracting people to go there?
Yeah, so we definitely want to have a strong call to action. Why are they need to take action right now? So that's the goal. We got to get them to call us right now. And so a lot of times a good coupon is a good strong call to action. Sometimes it can be simple as saying just call now. We test out a bunch of different stuff, but you have the customer they have to be told what to do. So you have to tell them, call now, click here, call now for XYZ amount of dollars off. You have to be very intentional and specific with these things, but coupons work really well.
Gotcha. And you mentioned that you've paid $125 for a click before. How should contractors think about what their bid would be for a click?
Yeah, so I mean that was just me, doing some tests and stuff for my own company. I wouldn't ever go out and do that for a client. Every market's different, and we tend to focus more on the cost per lead, not on the cost per click. So depending on what industry you're in and what part of the country you're in, some markets are really expensive and really competitive, like Southern California. This market is just brutal. But you go to the Midwest, some places like, some of the smaller cities in the Midwest, like St. Louis or, somewhere in Iowa or something like that. I was talking to somebody the other day in Memphis, Tennessee, and he owns an electrical company out there. And he said that he's doing pay-per-click, not with us, with somebody else. But he says it's just easy pickings for him because most of his competitors out there, they're just like good old country boys, and they don't have websites or anything like that. They don't know what pay-per-click or Google is or anything. And he's one of the few people that are on there. So he says it's so easy for him. It's so cheap. Versus out here in Southern California, it's kind of, a lot of times it's kind of ahead of the curve. And so a market like this, we can still get phone calls and things like that. It's just going to be more expensive than like a Memphis or something.
Sure. So if somebody's thinking about cost per lead, then correct me if I'm wrong, but the way the math would work out would be, let's say you're doing pay-per-click advertising and you pay $3 for a click, and then 10% of those clicks actually turn into phone calls. So you're looking at $30 per phone call based on that conversion rate. Hopefully it would be better than that, but just to keep the math simple. So you have $30 per call, and then you're going to convert some percentage of those into a job, hopefully. And so your actual lead, you're paying $30 per lead per phone call, basically. And then you just need to figure out how many of those phone calls can you convert into projects. And that's pretty simplistic, but is that how the math works?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So you get your cost per lead as you bring them in the door. Then you're not gonna book every single appointment. So then it just goes down the sales funnel. So then you get 100 leads out of those. How many do you book? You book 90, so you get a 90%. And then you can figure the math on your cost per booked lead. And then obviously you go out to the jobs and you're not going to sell every job. So then you have your cost per sale. How much does it cost me to actually make a sale? And then there's all kinds of numbers you track. You look at your average sale and your closing percentage and all these things. And at my company, we have a really high average sale. It's over for the plumbers. It's over like $1,100. So with me knowing that and knowing what my lead cost is, that's why I scaled so quickly, because I knew my numbers. It's like, well, I know what my cost per lead is, and I know that our average sale is this, and our conversion rate is this. So then it was just a matter of let's just dump money into pay-per-click and let's grow like crazy.
So what industries will this work for? We've got folks listening to this podcast who are high-end remodelers, production home builders, commercial contractors, plumbers, pool guys. They're from all across the industry. Is there a market here in commercial work?
Not so much commercial. Commercial, I mean, you can get it. Like we can target, commercial people, but commercial tends to work better more the old-fashioned just relationships or cold calling or emails. That seems to work really well. So if it was just a strictly commercial company, I would tell them, Probably not going to be able to make it happen, but definitely works well with residential, and any type of service business that you know, charges has high margins, high revenue, high ticket stuff. You know, plumbers, roofers, everybody that you mentioned, it works great for. Remodelers, perfect for that.
Got it. So what are the biggest mistakes you're seeing contractors make when it comes to sales and marketing?
Well, with sales, I think, at least from my conversations with people and just my observations on social media and stuff, I think like sales in our industry, in the construction industry, at least on the residential side, it's like a real taboo thing. Like everybody thinks like sales is really bad, and that if you're selling the homeowner stuff, then you're out to rip them off or to get them or something like that. And in my opinion, in my experience, that's so far from the truth. My organization, we're very, very influenced by sales, and we preach it hardcore, for a couple of reasons. One, that's a great way to serve the customer. You know, people want to buy stuff, and they don't know like what they don't know. They don't know that maybe their water heater's 12 years old and it's getting ready to go out. Well, shoot, we could save them a potential disaster if we sold them a new one before the thing leaks and ruins stuff, and things like that. So we're just really big on sales, and we think that we provide a great value to the customer. So I have no problem selling stuff, and we got our guys on full commission, and I think a lot of people think that that's a bad thing too. I mean, it's no different than a real estate agent being on commission, or you know, there's so many people on commission. And when you think about it, everything in life is a sale. Like you're selling your kids to go to bed on time, or you're selling your wife to marry you. I mean, there's so many different examples. So that'd be the big thing, is just thinking on how sales works, and what sales is. And, you know, with sales, sales is everything. Like it solves almost any problem in business. I've gotten into some problems in the business, and sales got me out of it, because sales produces revenue, and revenue solves problems. So I would say that. And then on the marketing side, I know a lot of contractors, like kind of like my dad. You know, they're great contractors, and I know a lot of guys. You know, they go into business for themselves because they're like, hey, I know I'm a great contractor. I know I can build that wall better than the other guy, or you know, I know I can provide a much better service, but they don't understand the marketing side of it, and that's why they struggle. And maybe they work with, maybe they have the wrong information, or maybe they hire a lot of these big national corporations to do their marketing. And I work with people like that. I get them all the time where they've tried to use these big corporations for marketing, and it just doesn't work. I've spent a lot of money on bad marketing. And with marketing, sometimes there's a right time to do things and a wrong time to do things. Like, I didn't start doing SEO right away for my company. I started with pay-per-click, because SEO takes time. Pay-per-click gets the phone ringing right away, and SEO is more expensive than pay-per-click. So, like, that would be an instance there. But two, like, there's, to the marketing game, there's like a before, a during, and an after. And I think a lot of people just focus on the before. What do we got to do to acquire the customer? What do we got to do to get more phone calls? When they forget like the during process while you're with the customer, marketing during that process, and then the after you're done with the customer, the deal's done, marketing then, and what that looks like, and creating a whole marketing system that's just like a well-oiled machine that just pumps out phone calls.
Yeah, I like it. I agree. I tell people all the time that one of the biggest business development mistakes people make is not understanding how much the frontline team, the project manager, the service technician, the foreman, whoever's facing that customer on a regular basis, is underestimating the importance of their impact on the next deal. Because especially in commercial work, long after the salesperson, the business development person is gone and forgotten. That customer is dealing with the project manager, the superintendent, and that is what they're going to base their decision on the next deal on, not on the business development guy who got the contract inked and then disappeared. So that's a really good point. What about some of the biggest opportunities that you see out there that contractors are not capitalizing on right now? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things come to mind for contractors that are already in business. I would say the biggest thing is not being priced right and being priced what the going rate is or for what your competition's doing. That's just such a huge mistake. A lot of contractors just don't understand the numbers, like especially if they want to grow their business. It takes an extraordinary amount of money and resources to grow a business and to have office staff and the correct insurance and to pay. If you want to get good people, you got to pay them well, and that costs money. And so how are you going to get that money? Well, it's got to come from the customer, and it's going to be hard to do that if you're charging the going rate. And it's just a hard model to sustain. This the type of business we're in. Has a lot of overhead. We got trucks, we got inventory, we got office, we got all this expensive insurance, bonds that we got to carry. So we have to charge accordingly for that. And I just see so many people that see these companies, charging, higher prices, and they just get quickly labeled that they're a rip-off company. And most of these guys don't even know these companies, but they just say, oh, well, they charge, whatever for this or that, and I'm half of that, so therefore they're a ripoff. So there's a lot of just misinformation that these guys have. So I think it's a big opportunity. People could grow a lot faster and more successfully if they knew their numbers and and they knew what they have to charge, stay in business, make a profit, get good quality people and pay them a good wage. And to get good people, you got to pay them all. And then the other side too is for people that want to start a business, a contracting business, right now is such a great time to do it, just with technology and getting into a business. I started my business with under $2,500 and my cell phone, and I actually ran my business off my cell phone until I was well over $1 million in revenue, if not like 1.5 million. And just with technology nowadays, it's never been easier to start a business. So all these guys, if there's anybody listening in that is thinking about starting a business, it's not like it was 15, 20 years ago. It's become so much easier. And there's a lot of resources on the internet that can help you get started.
So if somebody wanted to start a business right now, what questions would you ask them, or what should they be thinking about in order to pick the line of business that they go into? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would stick with what you're good at. So if you're good at building homes, then I'd stick with building homes. If you're good at drywall, stick with drywall. I'm a residential plumber, so I wouldn't go into commercial because I'm good at residential. So I stick with what I'm good at. I would ask them, how much money do you have in the bank? Because you're going to want to have some reserves. And I would ask them if they're good at sales. And I would ask them if they know how they're going to get the phone to ring, or how they're going to get customers if they have a plan for that. For me, that's the most important. I'm not as interested in like what do you know about finance, and what do you know about how insurance works? Like, that stuff can come later. What's most important, and I didn't know that stuff. What was most important for me, can I sell? Yes, I can sell. Can I get the phone to ring? Well, at first I thought I could, and I did it okay, but then I learned about pay-per-click, and I got the phone to ring off the hook. So if I know how to get the phone to ring and I can sell and I'm priced right, I'll be okay. And as long as I knew that, I knew that I could sell, and I knew that I was going to be priced right. The only variable was getting the phone to ring. and I got it to ring decently enough to where I was able to, quit my job and pay my bills and stuff. And then once I added in the correct type of marketing, then it was just like steroids, off to the races. Let's grow as fast as we can.
Let me ask you this. Let's say somebody's in business now and they want to expand into another service line. Maybe they're a residential plumber and they do new construction and they want to go into service work, or vice versa, or they are a remodeler and they're thinking about getting into custom home construction. What are some of the things that they should be thinking about when they consider getting into a new business or growing their business into a different area?
I would look at like, why do you want to do that? And I'd really look into that. So like, we went into HVAC. I didn't know anything about HVAC, but I hired people that knew about HVAC. And that's because I knew that there was money in HVAC. And so I have like a little saying, follow the money, so I knew that there was money in HVAC, so I followed the money. So I would ask yourself that question: is there money in that other trade that you want to go into? If there is money, then follow the money, and don't wait to get everything perfect. Just go for it. And it's okay to have it not be perfect, and it's okay to not know 100% what you're doing. Just rely on the people that you hire, that they'll figure it out. And that's the fastest way to learn is that type of way, as opposed to reading about it in books for months, and taking and doing all this stuff and then doing it. It's submersive learning. That's the fastest way to learn. Just go in, put yourself in with the pack of wolves and just go for it. And that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Speaking of hiring people, you've had some success bringing in good people, growing your company. What are some of the keys to your success in finding, attracting, and retaining good people, especially these days when everybody's talking about the skilled labor shortage?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most difficult thing for me. And I've actually had more bad hires than I've had good hires. I think some of that was me, like being a good leader. And I think some of it was just bad hires and maybe not setting the correct expectations from the get-go. Maybe just getting some bad apples as well. Sometimes it's just not a fit. So what I think is most important is be very picky on who you hire, because if you make a bad hire, it's hard to get them out, just because emotions get involved and people get their feelings hurt and they don't want to be embarrassed and get fired or quit or whatever. So it's much easier to be patient with that part. That's the one part I would be patient on, is finding the right people. And I would go through a lot of resumes to find that one person. And don't force bad hires. If you're not feeling it, move on. I did it multiple times where I had a bad gut feeling and I hired him anyways because we had the work, and I'm like, well, I gotta fill the truck, and it's every single time it's not worked out good. So go through a lot of resumes, talk to a lot of people, and then when you talk to them multiple times and ask them different questions. But a lot of times, their true self won't come out on that first phone call. So you can develop a process for it where you talk to them 2-3 times, they meet with different people and things like that. But like with our type of business, it's so centered around people and service. We're in the service business. So we have to get people that can provide a good service, like a Ritz-Carlton type of service. And if we can't provide a good service, then we're going to have a hard time staying in business. So you have to find people that want to provide a good service, not just build a good wall and put in a good air conditioner. They have to be the type of people that want to have good customer service and create a good experience for the customer. And what I've kind of found is that a lot of the good guys that have those traits are already taken. A lot of the guys that are looking, sometimes they're looking for a reason, and might be because they're a bad apple. But the best guys that I've ever gotten were guys that were at another company and they didn't find my ad on Craigslist or anything. They called me from a buddy or whoever, and or a referral or something, and we hired them that way. But as far as retaining them, once you get these good guys in, you want to keep those guys because they are priceless. Because there's a shortage of skilled labor. Nobody's getting into it. Everybody's getting into computers and stuff. But with that being said, you don't want to have them hold you hostage and tell you what to do and how it's going to be and everything. So it's a balancing act. So that's when your leadership skills really step up. And 'cause you got to hold people accountable, but you got to do it in a way that you're not being rude and arrogant and things like that. And then, with retaining them, you have to do as much work as you do to retain your customers as you do with your employees. So, you got to treat them well. You got to have all the benefits and all that. That stuff's given nowadays. But you want to, what really sets the good companies apart from the mediocre ones is having a great company culture. And so if you can create a great company culture where people love coming to work, they love their coworkers, then you'll be good.
Do you have any tips on what to do or what not to do to develop a great company culture? To be honest with you, I haven't been the best at that. So I guess what I could say is give it all your effort, give it 110% of your effort, and just focus on serving your employees, focus on, helping them with what they need help with and being there to try not to be a boss, so to speak. Try to be more there's a book, I think it's called The Servant Leader, where you're serving them, and that's what Jesus did. He was a servant leader, he washed people's feet and things like that. So try to just take more of that approach as opposed to just the guy that gives orders and writes the paychecks and stuff. Yeah, great advice. What do you see as the top 1 or 2 priorities for you as the business owner? What's your job as the business owner?
Number 1 is to make a profit, because if we don't make a profit, we'll go out of business. So that's what I look at all day long. And number 2, I just look at, number 2 is kind of a mix, but I want to make sure that the customers are happy, because if we're not having happy customers, then they're not going to be calling us back, and we're going to get a bad reputation for ourselves. So I look at customer happy. Did we do a good job? Everybody's good. Okay, cool.
Gotcha. So you've got an audience here of construction business owners who, some are planning to start a business, some have been in business for a few years, some have been in business for 20 plus years. What's one piece of advice you would give to, and let's make it a little broader. You've got a lot of construction leaders as well. What's one piece of advice you would give to construction business owners and leaders?
I would say change with the times. Be up to date on how the marketplace is changing, especially with marketing and technology, and also who you hire. Us as construction guys, we have a tendency to be kind of rough around the edges, blue collar types, and it's a changing world, with millennials and the new workforce, they're just a different breed of people. So you can like it or you can not like it. It is what it is, depending on your thoughts on it. But the most important thing is, if you want to continue to be successful, you have to continue to change, because you can't continue to do the same things. It's a changing marketplace, changing demographics. So you have to continue to change with your employees and also your customers. You have to be able to adapt. For instance, we have a lot of customers that text us all the time. And when I first got that, my initial thought was why is this person texting me? You think I'm like some like $30 an hour handyman guy or something, like I'm a professional plumbing company. Like, call me. And then I just decided to have a different approach on it. I'm like, well, if the customer wants to text, I'll text them. And so that was an example of, changing with the marketplace.
Yeah, I agree. I had a conversation with one of my clients recently about the skilled labor shortage, and the conversation went something like, well, you can either hold on to your old beliefs and just wish things were the way they used to be 20, 30 years ago when you got into the business, or you can change. So you can be the Chick-fil-A who they're open 6 days a week. They're staffed primarily by teenagers, and they're wildly successful. And they embraced the new workforce, and they made it work. Or you can be like some of these other fast food places that have been left behind because they're still trying to use some old model that is unstaffable nowadays. So it's either you can be successful or you can hold on to your old model, but you can't have both necessarily. Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
What sort of do you have any resources on personal growth, professional growth, thought leaders that you can share, whether they are books that have been really influential, podcasts, or thought leaders that you follow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm for the past probably year and a half, I've really just been following one person, and that's Grant Cardone, and he's really changed a lot of my thinking and how I do things. I used to read lots of different books on all kinds of different subjects, and lately I've just kind of focused down on like one or two people, and really have been taking a deep dive on them and really understanding and learning how they do things, as opposed to taking a real broad perspective on learning and stuff, because you can get confused sometimes if, this guy's saying this guy's saying this. So I just decided recently just to really focus in on what Grant Cardone has to say and really study him and understand him. And a lot of people may or may not know who he is. Some people, he might be too over the top for people, but I know for me, like I've listened to all of his podcasts. I've done personal coaching with him, read all of his books, been to all of his events and things like that. So he's really helped me with mindset and learning how to think like in terms of abundance. I was kind of raised in terms of like scarcity, like everything is scarce, money and food and clothes are scarce. And I think a lot of us have really have been raised that way. And so he's helped me to think everything is abundant. Money is abundant. New customers are abundant. There's no shortage of phone calls. There's no shortage of money and things like this. And that's super important, having that type of mindset, because mindset is everything. And because thoughts are things. So if you have the mindset, or you have the thought of that this business is hard, or that it's hard to get the phone to ring, or it's hard to go to business, then that's going to become your reality. And then that actually creates a feedback loop where that becomes your new reality. And then because it's your reality, you continue to think about that, and it just becomes a vicious cycle for you. And that's why a lot of people get stuck in a cycle like that. So it all starts with having the correct type of thoughts. So one thing that I do whenever I have a negative thought that comes to my mind, like, oh, money, shortage of money, or, oh, I can't grow my business or whatever, I just stop that thought immediately, and I replace it with a positive thought. Oh, there's tons of money, there's tons of customers. And that helps create a positive feedback loop as opposed to a negative feedback loop. That thought's going to become my reality. And then once I see it, my reality becoming, then that reinforces my thought process. And so then that creates a positive feedback loop. And that's how I get to where I want to go.
Yep, absolutely. I'm a firm believer that mindset is where it's at. I can show somebody the skills and tips and strategies and hacks and techniques for productivity, leadership, things like that. But if they really want to see a quantum leap, if they really want to upgrade their operating system, it starts with the mindset. It starts with what they believe to be true about the world. And if somebody really wants to change their behavior, they need to change their thoughts. If they want to change their thoughts, they've got to change their mindset, like you're saying, and start with an abundant mindset. But the thing is, so many people don't even realize that they have a scarcity mindset. They just assume that everybody's like that, and they don't. Well, there's a couple of things. They don't realize that there's another option, and they don't realize that they get to affect their mindset. They just assume that it's just how it is. It's how it was born. It's how they were born. It's based on their genetic material or something, like their eye color or their height. But when somebody, one of the most powerful realizations or revelations I ever had was that, one, I have a mindset, and two, I can affect it. And so that's great advice. I'm a big believer in mindset, big believer in a lot of people would, they think that positive thinking is, kind of fluffy BS, but it's not. I mean, you could think that. It's kind of like it's a reality.
Yeah, and it's just things too, like what affects your subconscious. Like, if you're choosing to think a way, a positive way, that's one thing. And then there's your subconscious too. So, it's just something like you're just watching the news, and the news is so negative, or you're hanging around people that are so negative, and that's just been your reality, and that's why you don't realize it. And that stuff creeps into your subconscious, and subconscious has thoughts, and thoughts are things. So you're hearing about deaths and shootings and all these things on the news all day, and all this negative stuff, that becomes your reality, negative things. Hanging around negative people all the time, that becomes your reality.
Yeah, recently I heard something that was pretty powerful, and this person said that your mind will reproduce whatever you sow into it. It's sort of like if a farmer sows corn seed, then he's going to get corn. If they sow soybeans, they're going to get soybeans. Your mind is like a fertile field, and it will reproduce whatever you sow into it. So if you sow negativity and scarcity by watching the news and hanging around negative people, then your mindset is going to be negative. But if you sow thoughts of abundance and generosity and gratitude, then that's what it's going to produce for you. So you get to choose what you sow into your mind and your subconscious, and that's what you're going to get. So I agree.
And with these negative people, I've been for a while now where I haven't wanted to hang out with these people, but I used to judge them. I used to judge these negative people. Oh, they're so negative, I'm so positive. But then too, like, that becomes a reality too. Okay, so I'm judging these negative people. Well, now they're going to judge me. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. So it's like, no, I got to be careful with that too. I can't judge these people for being negative. It's just they're going to choose to be away, and I'm going to choose to be away. You are who you are, and I am who I am.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, we're just about out of time. I really appreciate everything you've shared today. If people want to get in touch with you, find out more about whether it's your plumbing and HVAC business, if they want to talk to you about SEO and pay-per-click and marketing, where is the best place for them to go to connect with you?
Yes, there's a couple different ways. You can friend me on Facebook. My name is Mitch Kenney, Kenney. You can send me a message. You can go to our website, pipesmedia.com, PIPES media.com. You can email me, mk@pipesmedia.com.
Perfect. And I'll have all the links and other email addresses and some of the links to the other resources we talked about in the show notes, which I'll give you the link to at the end of this. But Mitch, great stuff, man. It was great talking with you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And let me know if there's ever anything I can do for you.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that interview. That was a great conversation with Mitch. I got a lot out of it. Hope you did too as well. Don't forget, if you are interested in getting rid of your back office and bookkeeping headaches, go to constructionleadingedge.com/headache. Fill out the form, and you will be contacted by the team at Apparatus Contractor Services who wants to take those headaches off your plate. And if you want to take your construction business to the next level, if you want to maximize revenue and turn that thing into a well-oiled machine, I want to help you do that. And you can do it with the Construction Business Accelerator. Go to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com to find out all the details, and hurry up and do it, because there's a whole lot of bonuses I'm giving away right now. and there are only a limited number of spots available. So for all the show notes and links, go to constructionleadingedge.com/080. And as always, I appreciate the reviews and the ratings and the emails. I got an email from somebody this week who said they found the podcast recently and they are addicted to it. Hopefully that's a good thing. But I appreciate the feedback. If you could leave a rating or a review in iTunes or your podcast player of choice, I would appreciate it. It helps get the word out there. And it feels pretty good, too, to know that you guys appreciate it. So I'm Todd DeWalt from ConstructionLeadingEdge.com. I'll see you next time.